in the Village Green, and this is Village Green is turning into a sculpture park. Is that right? Is that what you call this?
Yeah, I mean, and it is. I mean, the Village Green is a large park. I mean, we're 12.5 acres, so there's an element of sculpture park in it. That the entire green, we have no intention of the entire park being a sculpture park, but it's incorporating sculpture into the landscape that is the Village Green is kind of the long-range goal and intent of the board.
Okay, so and last weekend there was an event here that there's 10 sculptures, new sculptures, is that right?
Yeah, we're hosting a 6-month exhibit. It's an invitational. It's 10 artists, 10 works for 6 months, and it's just kind of a temporary exhibit to kind of stimulate thoughts about what is sculpture, in 2008, and we wanted to visit a lot of varied styles and kind of, in addition to getting a lot of sculpture in the park without having to actually purchase it, the artists benefit, they get exposure, the park benefits, we get a lot of sculpture, and the public gets to kind of play with it all and kind of, maybe possibly change their perception of what they think sculpture is.
Well, one of the things I liked on Saturday, even though it was raining, was watching people interact with sculpture, because there's something about sculpture outside. It makes you feel like you can touch it, you can climb on it. It's really
interactive. It really is. It's a great dialogue-inducing thing to have sculpture around, and in particular, a nice varied style, medium choices and stylistic choices. Tends to make people talk and visit and think, and that's kind of the intent, is to sculpture in an art gallery, there's only a certain type of person that feels comfortable crossing that threshold, especially in art gallery you have to buzz in or whatever, there's a lot of people that never get to experience that, and so, as a sculptor and an artist and being, in a nationwide kind of other friends that are artists, the same thing. That's why public art to artists is so appealing, is to reach everyone. There's no discomfort when you're in an atmosphere like this, going up and looking at a piece and experiencing it and touching it, and whereas in a gallery you can't really do that.
So one of the interesting things for me about this collection of sculptures is the different styles. I mean, like here we are standing next to a figurative one, but then you also have, and that one back there, well, some kids called it, they said it was like mummies.
That's interesting.
But you also have, the ones that are more abstract here, and that's interesting to have the mix.
Yeah, and we really, if you look at the national and even international average of what is a sculpture park and sculpture collections, they tend to lean one way or another. Brook Green Gardens in South Carolina is all figurative works. The ISC, Grounds for Sculpture in New Jersey, is mostly abstract and non-representational stuff. They have 1 or 2 pieces out of like 280 that are figurative. And as an artist and us as a core group, the people that have been, making all of this happen. Arts Committee, we don't even have an official name, but kind of an offshoot of the board of directors for the Village Green. We think it's really important to reflect on, we talked about Sculpture 2008, and the term is expanded exponentially, in the last even 20 years, and way beyond the scope of our park. We chose to focus on more object-based sculpture. Sculpture has gone so beyond modeled form to become like, big interactive pieces in cities with diaphanous silk blowing that makes a shadow, and that's the sculpture. And when we were discussing how we wanted to approach it, we decided to focus on object-based sculpture and do a broad range of non-representational, abstract, and figurative, and focus on those kind of 3 areas. And and represent them all. I think that you know, a figurative piece can be really emotionally powerful because of your connection with the shapes and relating that to yourself. But if you have, you know, if you've ever been to Brook Green Gardens, which is a fabulous park, after you look at 200 sculptures that are figurative based and they all have eyes, and you kind of lose sight and they kind of lose something. So our thought was, you know, if you have a piece like this, you know, contrasted against, you know, a completely non-representational piece like Harry Gordon's over there, it makes this one all the more powerful and makes that one a little more meaningful as far as like, wow, what is this?
Well, on Saturday, people were able to vote for what one they thought the Village Green should acquire. What kind of responses did you get to the different pieces?
Kind of across the board. I mean, there's not a single piece that didn't get any votes, and so
That's good.
You know, and our kind of goal all along was, well, obviously we're not going to make everyone happy. There's lots of people that, you know, think of them, you know, the mountains as the Pottery Barn version of the mountains, that we should have sculptures of bears and trout, you know, which sounds insulting and horrible, but that is, you know, the mountains. Yes, we have bear and trout here, but, you know, we didn't want to fill our park up with them. And, you know, but the thought is that, you know, if everybody can walk away liking one piece, then you know, that's our goal.
Right.
You know, I mean, public sculpture in general is controversial no matter where you're at. It can be New York, it can be Sarasota. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's always people who, you know, don't agree or
Right.
whatever.
Well, were there some responses that surprised you or impressed you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you know, actually I think, and even, you know, when we installed our permanent collection last summer, then the 4 pieces we chose, we kind of pushed the envelope and forced people to acknowledge, look, sculpture isn't all, you know, bronze children walking on stilts. There's other modes of expression that are fabulous, and you know, I think everybody really kind of opened up to that and was really receptive, and so it made this all the more surprising that people, some of the pieces that people really gravitated towards weren't the figurative based pieces, but more, you know, a completely non-representational. And this one got a great response from everyone, you know, which, thank you.
Well, you know what one woman said to me? She said that she felt like it kind of spoke about what Cashiers is, because it's not like your kind of linear Main Street type town, you know, it's like this sort of circle around a crossroads.
Ooh, I like that. You know, yeah, I had another guy talking about how the vines had enveloped in it. I haven't looked at it since. Yeah, how which he noticed more than I did, that the stem up there is broken, you know, and he was talking about how the organic nature of these vines broke that and what that symbolized, and, you know, I mean, he really took some time and kind of experienced it, which is kind of the point.
Yeah. Well, it's talking about experiencing it. So if people want to come out and experience this sculpture, what's the time frame?
Yeah, so we open June 14th. It'll be here through November 12th. We thought we'd get a nice broad range of seasons, and the Village Green, we've allotted a People's Choice Award of $22,000, and these sculptures range in prices from $7,500 up to $135,000, and only the highest one is out of a museum collection, actually, and it's not eligible for the vote. But otherwise, the other 9 pieces, we're taking a vote. We wanted to get the public input on what they liked, what they don't like, and we you know, we have a $22,000 People's Choice Award is what we're calling it.
What if somebody sees a piece here that they want for their own home? Can that people
Yeah,
buy
I mean,
it?
everything in the park is for sale, and it also is, you know, it's a venue for artists to show and be exposed to the public and make subsequent sales via that. So each sculpture has a placard on it that has the contact information for the artist. As the Village Green, we're not really interested in, you know, being the middleman or selling sculpture, but everything in the park is for sale. In addition to, if you like the stylistic choices of the artist, I think every placard has a website, so you can visit the artist directly. And if you do end up buying something via the artist, if you mention that you saw their work at the Village Green, then each artist has agreed to donate 15% of the price to the park to fund future acquisitions and exhibitions. In the next year and a half, we're enlarging. We have a Summit Charter School is currently in the park, and they take up about, well, almost half of the park, the back half of the park. They've got a new campus, and they're moving in December, so suddenly our park becomes 2.5 times what it is now. So we have a trail system worked out that goes from the wooded area to a wetlands to back around to these kind of more lawn usable areas. And our intent is to kind of incorporate little niches and nooks and crannies. And it's, you know, and lots of sculpture trails across the nation are popping up instead of golf courses as the amenity. The sculpture trail is the amenity, or, you know, as opposed to these public parks with fitness stations. You know, you stop here and you walk on the balance beam. You know, it's, you know, becoming sculpture trails is becoming more prevalent.
That's nice. Well, are you involved in the sculpture trail at the Bascom at all?
No, I'm not sure who's running that over there. I would assume they're, you know, and the Bascom versus us. I mean, that's a very, you know, I mean, that place is going to be amazing if you've been over there. I mean, and it's very structured, and I'm sure they'll have like a you know, an official curator and the whole, you know, if you look at art on a nationwide level and arts councils and that sort of thing, I think that's, you know, which is kind of the nationwide model, that's probably what the Bascom will be, I would imagine, which, you know, generates some fantastic programs. Our kind of model for what we're doing here is the other end of that, which there's other sculptors that I work with and associate with that are more kind of grassroots level. We're not dealing with, you know, no one gets paid to curate the show. It's more sculptors networking amongst themselves. Lots of times when people donate money to like an arts council in a city, the money ends up going to someone to do a study on what kind of art we should place throughout the city. And with us, it was like all of the money that we've spent went directly to sculpture. Everything else is, I mean, it's people who love what we're doing, and so all our time is donated, and it's very kind of grassroots, you know, make it happen.
Well, and you being a sculptor, it's like a direct tapping into the world of sculpture.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is kind of an invaluable background for what we're trying to do.
So, and this is something you're planning on doing, I mean, adding on to over time. I mean, this isn't just like you're doing it this time, but
yeah, I mean, this is really just the beginning.
Right.
You know, and again, we're kind of, you know, again, it's very grassroots, and we're just kind of stumbling our way through it. It's like, okay, you know, how can we, you know, we have this much money, how can we maximize that? And that's kind of how this exhibition came about. And it was interesting to us to benefit artists and make our space appealing for artists to want to show at. You know, obviously we're in a very affluent area, the Highlands Cashiers Plateau. You know, so I think we've created an atmosphere that artists want to participate. I mean, the Boaz Vadia piece, you know, is out of his private museum collection, and he essentially let us, you know, it's on loan to the Village Green for 6 months. You know, and that's the kind of thing we wanted to instigate. We weren't, you know, and yeah, it's a very long-term, you know, we're out of this exhibition, we'll add one piece to our, we currently have 4 permanent installations. And then we plan on, we're starting a new commission for a piece that'll be installed next summer. You know, so yes, it's an ongoing kind of a program.